Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I welcome you all on behalf of our respected founder president, Honorable Chancellor, Group Chancellor, and 185,000 students, faculty members, staff of our very proud Amity universe. This is the 22nd International Business Summit, InBush Era World Summit, on a very interesting topic of nurturing people, purpose, partnerships, planet, and performances for creating sustainable world-class organizations. And warm welcome to the inaugural session. We started with nurturing people in a very exciting, very invigorating and stimulating pre-inaugural session on happiness. And we have all our distinguished partners joining us over various series of sessions during the next 3 days, accompanied by insightful and intellectually stimulating panel discussions on various topics. Amity is extremely proud to have, with the vision of our respected founder president and chancellors, brought partners from across the world. And we are going to be strengthening, nurturing, and announcing many new partnerships with a lot of purpose, with a lot of nurturing people, with a lot of performance management systems, and of course, all in all, for a sustainable world-class world for all of us. Without any further ado, I would like to request the Group Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Gurinder Singh, to please introduce the conference theme and share his opening remarks.
Thank you, Professor Bhavna Kumar. And as you were saying, 22 years is a very long time. In 22 years, almost everything changes. Life changes, economies change, companies change, government changes, strength of your muscle changes, and sometimes the color of our hair change. Professor Petford would be a witness to it. In most of these cases, even the definition of a relationship changes. However, at Amity, one thing which has not changed is the passion with which we have been organizing this event year after year, under the very able vision of our respected founder and unparalleled leadership of our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Atul Chauhan. My salute to a great team of Amity, which has been organizing this event year after year for more than 2 decades. Our huge applause to all of them. I will always remember the most significant contribution of each one of you till I breathe my last. And this great event has been evolved over the years. This journey of excellence was not possible without our most trusted partners, colleagues, international community, researchers, alumni, students, faculty, industry, sponsors, press, and media who have always supported us. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in applauding virtually for all those who are present today. And they are truly the champions of their own countries. They are the champions of academia. They are the champions of the industry. They are the champions of their organizations. First-class people, first-class human beings, champion of champions with whom you will be interacting during our truly international event in Bush. They are coming from various countries to participate in this prestigious event, and we value from the bottom of our heart for their presence. May I please request each one of you to give them a huge applause wherever you are sitting virtually. Many of our honorable guests, in the morning, they were asking us, when we were talking to them, that how InBush was created. Let me give you a very unusual story of how InBush was created. This was a brainchild of our founder, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, a man, a great visionary who has spent more than 3 decades in Europe and who came to India with one vision, with one aim, that he has to bring education revolution. He wanted to create a platform where people can understand that what education means to the world. He wanted to reach to the underprivileged class. He wanted to reach to the premium class. He wanted to reach to the middle class. He wanted to create a system which can compete with some of the best universities. At that time, there was no private university in India. People were asking all kinds of questions. There was no university from India which was amongst the top 500 universities. He had a mission that there will be a day when Indian students and the other parts of the world where the education is not getting the importance which they should get, will be able to reach to the millions. He wanted that the education would reach to Africa. He wanted that the education and the partnerships between India, between Africa, between Australia, between UK, between American institutions should be much deeper. He wanted to create a league which should be better than an Ivy League. He wanted to create a league which should be competing and should be having partnership with the Russell Group of universities. He wanted that most of the Australian universities should have partnership with the India. He wanted that people from across the globe, they should come together and we should be able to create an environment which should be able to give world-class education. And that is what he told one day, that we should create an international conference which should be focusing on research, which should focus on creating entrepreneurs, which should be able to create research outcomes. And he named it called InBush, International Business Horizon. I remember that for the first time in 1998, when we sat together, there were 19 people, top class academicians, and he was giving a vision. And then he asked that how many of you feel that one day this international conference will be attended by the top class vice chancellors, with where almost every Ivy League will be present, where the Russell Group of universities will be present, where the people like Professor Petford will be present, where the people like Professor Martin will be present, Professor Mike Hinchy will be present. And out of the 19 who were present there, 18 smiled, and it was a sarcastic smile, because we had never organized this conference. And today, when after 22 years, we see this conference, we can see some of the top brains of the world coming together. We can see the president of NYU speaking today in this conference. Dean of the Harvard Business School will be coming and will be talking in this conference. We see about 50 vice chancellors coming and speaking. So this was a vision of Dr. Chauhan, our founder, which was conceptualized by our Chancellor, Dr. Atul Chauhan, and a dedicated team of MIT family. And that is what is the strength of MIT. The things which look impossible sometimes, they become possible if you feel that you have got a firm belief. If you believe in the leadership, if you believe in the strong commitment which a person puts, and the faith which a person put in yourself. So thank you everyone who is present today. I can see Professor Nick Petford, who has been a great friend of MIT. I think that this is for the 4th time that Professor Nick Petford is coming to the InBush. I remember that for the first time when we invited Professor Petford, he told me that we will be doing many things together. And after that, year after year, the team from Northampton, they were participating in InBush, and it can't be without you. And Professor Petford, though we welcome you virtually, we will surely would like to see you very shortly in India or in Dubai or in our other campuses. Professor Mike Hinchy, a very warm welcome to you. Professor Mike Hinchy is not only a very close friend of MIT, but is a person who has always supported the vision of our Chancellor. I remember that when Dr. Atul Chauhan for the first time wanted that IEEE conference should happen in London, it was Professor Mike Hinchy who not only helped us in getting all the approvals, but we became the first university from India which organized any IEEE conference with the University College London at Radisson Hotel. So thank you, Professor Mike Hinchy. And after that, Professor Mike Hinchy, with your support, we have been organizing conferences in India, in Dubai, in Tashkent very lately, and you have always been very supportive. Our gratitude and lot of respect for your efforts. We value your contribution. Our great friend, Professor Ian Martin, I think we will say that in Australia, if we have got some presence, it is because of the dedicated efforts which you have made. And I remember that it was about 20 years back that when our relationship started, your dean from the business school at that time came and we played cricket. And from cricket, our partnership started. And now our students from both the sides, they have come under the New Colombo plan. We have not only played cricket, we have done research projects together. Our students have gone to you, you have come to us. Ms. Ritika, what a pleasure to welcome you. Ms. Ritika was informing that we got last year the highest number of UKT projects. And this year also we have got the highest number of projects through British Council. And we became the first and the only university from India to host the UK students virtually. But one thing we are extremely grateful is, Ms. Ritika, is to the British Council, who have always been guiding us, who have always been so supportive. Please keep on coming to MIT and helping us in taking many such initiatives. Dr. A.K. Nagpal, Professor Bhavna Kumar, Puneet Ji, Ganesh, I think that all of you have been a great pillar of strength, and so is Mr. Gaurav Bhatnagar. The entire event has been personally guided by our Honorable Chancellor, who has a very special affection for UK universities. As most of you know, that he himself is a graduate of London School of Economics and University College London. And you can very well understand that for our first campus, which we made abroad, it was UK. And he has got another affection, which is towards Australia. So Professor Martin, you will find that we have got today relationship besides Deakin with all the Group 8 universities. And we are working on a number of projects with the Australian universities also. Regarding this event, the InBush, we are not only organizing this event for the 22nd time, but we are also organizing it at a much larger scale. If we look at today that how this event will flow, you will find that more than 50 top vice chancellors of the world, they will be speaking. There will be more than 700 research papers which will be presented. There are more than 11 Scopus index books, and we become the largest university of India and the only university of India which in any one single conference will be releasing 11 Scopus index books. We are coming up with the compilation of 60 case studies, which will be on the ECCH portal, which will be subscribed by almost all the business schools of the world. We became, again, amongst the top few universities of the world who came together and organized Thinkubator, a contest where almost 60 top universities, Canadian universities, Australian universities, US universities, UK universities, and other universities of the world, they guided and they mentored school children and also youngsters to create their own organization. We are also organizing a hackathon in which more than 125 teams across the globe, they are participating. We have got a career fair, and I am so happy to share with you that more than 70 companies from India and abroad, they have committed that they will be picking the students this year from MIT campus. Though the whole world is talking about recession, here the TCS, Reliance, KPMG, PwC, Tata Power, Rolls-Royce, Pepsi, Motherson Sumi, OLX, HDFC, ICICI, IDFC, Modulex, Microsoft, MasterCard, PhD Chamber of Commerce, CII, FIO, Service Export Promotion Council, Airtel, Cipla, Dabur, Dokri.com, KEI, Scotia Bank, Hewitt, IBM, Deloitte, all of them and many others, they have committed that they will be picking the students from the MIT campuses. And that is a strength of MIT, that before a student graduates from the portals of MIT University, we want that they should be successfully employed. Our big thank you to our all partners who are supporting our systems. Rekhi ji in the morning, he has created and has given a special endowment to create a center of happiness. But so is our other universities, which includes University of Northampton, University of Birmingham, Queen Mary University of London, Brunel University, Coventry University, University of Bristol, Northumbria, University of Portsmouth, Bangor, Nottingham, University of Surrey, University of Lancaster, Durham, Kelly University, University of Reading, University of Essex, University of Sheffield. A big thank you to all these universities from UK who are not only supporting, but are helping us to further excel. This year, we are adding another chapter, which is a Canada chapter. And I feel so proud to share with you that almost all the top universities of Canada, they are participating and they will be supporting us, which includes University of Toronto, University of British Columbia, Dalhousie University, Lakehead University, Strand University, York University, Yorkville University, Ellicott College, Mohawk College, Trent University, and many others. From Australia, our heart goes to our partners, and we can see our most trusted and oldest partner, Deakin University and their Vice Chancellor, RMIT University, University of Canberra, ANU, Monash, Lakehead University, University of Melbourne, Western Sydney University, University of Western Australia, Mohawk University, University of Queensland. They are supporting, and their researchers and scholars are participating. From USA, we have this year the participation from Harvard University, MIT, Stanford, Iowa University, Babson College, Adelphi University, Michigan State University, Berkeley Global, University of California, their chancellor will be participating, University of Denver, Johns Hopkins University, University of California, University of Kentucky, and many others. I think that this is going to be a truly amazing international event. We will be having 5 very interesting panel discussions. We will be having 7 research tracks. We will be having competitions where teams from various schools and colleges, they will be competing against each other. We are creating 5 more centers, and we will be declaring many other initiatives in Canada, in Australia, in UK, in New Zealand, in USA, in UK, and other parts of the world which we are taking. On behalf of our founder, on behalf of our chancellor, on behalf of our all vice chancellors, and on my own behalf as a group vice chancellor, and 185,000 very passionate members of MIT family. Once again, it's my privilege to welcome each one of you. Thank you so much. Keep blessing us. MIT is as good as you have been able to make it. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir, for introducing the theme of the 22nd in-Bush era. Well, his actions inspire Amitians to dream more, learn more, and do more. Ladies and gentlemen, indeed, we are talking about Dr. Atul K. Chauhan, sir, President RBEF and Honorable Chancellor, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, a product of the prestigious London School of Economics and UCL, and the most charismatic and dynamic chancellor. May I now request Dr. Atul Chauhan, sir, to please share a few words and his thoughts.
Thank you, Gaurav. First of all, Dr. Gurinder Singh, let me congratulate you on this great occasion of the inaugural of the 22nd in-Bush that is taking place. I thoroughly enjoyed the pre-inaugural session that happened on the theme of happiness, which was conducted by the Rekhi Center for the Science of Happiness, which, as you mentioned, has been endowed to our university by the great entrepreneur and businessman, Mr. Dr. Satyendra Rekhi from Singapore, from our systems. I think we as a university are very privileged that very large industries and the corporate world are coming forward to endow centers financially on focused areas. And Dr. Singh, you have learned from our founder over so many years to always have an outcome. In the pre-inaugural, you also signed a MOU with another company to focus on the field of agriculture. I am so proud that under your leadership, so many initiatives are coming up. And for all the students who are online, do look at the Center of Happiness within the Amity University, not only at the Noida campus, but across the country. It is doing fantastic work. Dr. Nitin Arora is the head of that. You can reach out to him. where the focus is on instilling the value systems of happiness amongst all Amity. And so Dr. Singh, great. And let me also thank you for your dedicated and passionate leadership of Amity. You know, I always tell young people when I meet them that organizations have large number of people, but if the success of any organization is always built on the passion of a very small percentage of people who look at that organization as their own family, as their own future, as their own baby. And that is what Amity has been for you, Dr. Singh, as you told in the morning when you joined us, still a very young professional, but I have seen over the years our founder, Dr. Chauhan, his biggest skill, or I think virtue that he has is that he can identify people within a few seconds. And I think within you, he saw this great leadership quality, and he gave you tremendous amounts of responsibility right from that day one. And you know, it is because of leaders like you and many others who have been with us. You know, Professor Bhavna has also now been with us now 20 years. And we are very lucky to have people with us who have been with us for decades. And that is because of the family culture that all the senior leadership at Amity inculcates. And to all the young students who are listening in today, if you want to create something extraordinary, you have to feel from your heart, you have to work proactively. But I think one lesson, Dr. Singh, you spoke about our founder president on how he gave this mission and this responsibility to you for InBush, and a concept I think that has been sort of invented by Dr. Chauhan is management by compulsion. Dr. Chauhan has always taught us that in life, your reputation and your word is most important. And if you say something in public, if you do not achieve that, then no one will respect you in life. So he has always, and we have always seen this, he has always practiced this, that he will announce something in public, and then he and all of us have to work extremely hard to achieve that. So Dr. Singh, you rightly said that when he announced that InBush would be such a great event, no one would have believed. But I was just going through the next few days, the speakers that you have called, the great leaders who will be there. It is astounding, and I congratulate you again. Talking about the management by compulsion, to all the young new students who have joined the Amity family, I still remember when the former president of India, Dr. Abdul Kalam ji, was on campus. We had just undertaken an exercise that why are Indian universities not ranked amongst the top universities of the world. And one of the major aspects was that they are not focused enough on research and outcomes of that and intellectual property. And as you know, Dr. Abdul Kalam ji, a great scientist of our country, we were a very young university, and Dr. Chauhan announced, Your Excellency Kalam ji, we have at the moment 0 publications, 0 patents. But I commit to you that within 1 year, we will have, our scientists will have filed 100 patents. And Dr. Kalam came on the stage and he said, if anyone else would have told that to me, I would have said it is impossible to organize. But I saw Dr. Chauhan, I saw his conviction, and I believe that Amity will achieve it. And this was many years ago, and to the amazement of the whole scientific community at Amity, with our scientists, we filed within the first 1 year 100 patents. And I am so proud today that just a few months ago, the government of India, through the Minister of Commerce, Piyush Goyal ji, handed over the National Award for Innovation and Intellectual Property Rights to Dr. Chauhan on behalf of Amity. And in the history of this national award up till now, which is a young award, I think 6-7 years old. Only the IITs have received it. And the fact that Amity received this award from the government of India for its contribution to research, to intellectual property, goes a long way, Dr. Gurinder Singh, for the great leaders that we have like you and the great scientists. But again, comes back to the compulsion. So to all our young people who are listening today, if there is one lesson that I want you to take away, is that your reputation, your honor, your word is the most important in life. Always try and achieve the best in life, do good, and no one should say that this person, he said this, but did not achieve it. That is when you lose respect. And I'm so happy today to have great friends of Amity online, Dr. Singh. It is, you rightly mentioned Professor Nick Pedford. With the University of Northampton, we have so many years of relationships, and a great vice chancellor, a courageous vice chancellor who leads from the front, a passionate one. And Dr. Pedford, I still remember the first time you visited on campus, we all saw this great video of you standing on top of a volcano which was erupting or about to erupt. No one could believe that how you got the courage to do that. To all the youngsters of Amity, you know, I'm sure you can Google Professor Pedford's name and you will see a fascinating, I think this was your avatar before you came into academics as a vice chancellor. But thank you for your leadership and for being part of the Amity family. And we know INBUSH is very close to your heart, and Puneet is known to, you know, of course, we always say part of the Amity family since many years. Professor Martin, we're extremely grateful to you, a great academic leader. I always give the example around the world of Deakin University for the impact Deakin has made to our country. And if I may say so, I think at least from the Australian university, by far the greatest connection that exists between India and Australia is because of Deakin University. I think the on-ground commitment you have, the scope of partnerships with some of the leading universities and other universities of our country, and I think the commitment that Deakin has to connecting Australia and India is tremendous. And I'm so happy that through the new Colombo plan, we've been able to host many students from Deakin over the years, as well as from UKRI program. I think we've had partnerships with at least 6 universities, Dr. Singh. I think last time you informed, and Ms. Ritika is there from the British Council, who has really worked a lot on that. But to all our academic leaders who are here online today from Amity, just yesterday I was the Times Higher Education, which comes out with the university rankings. They had organized or they're still organizing a conference, and they requested Mr. Joe Johnson, who was the former Minister of Universities of the United Kingdom, and me to come and sort of brainstorm on the future of Indian education. And one interesting fact that came out, which Mr. Johnson sort of flagged as an area of improvement between Australia, United Kingdom, and India, was that Australia and the United Kingdom have great programs like the Colombo Plan and UKRI and the Turing Scheme. But he mentioned that it is only a very small percentage of students from these countries that choose India to go to. Far larger numbers are going to China, going to other countries. So I think this is something, Dr. Singh, you can have a brainstorming session sometime with all our leaders within the Amity community. Though I know for a fact that out of Indian universities, we have maybe by far the largest percentage of students from Australia and the United Kingdom coming to the Amity University. But how can we ensure that more students from Australia and the United Kingdom come to our country? I think that should be, but of course, we as a university are going outside and have opened campuses in 15 countries. Dr. Nagpal is here, who is again a great leader of Amity, has helped Amity go to Abu Dhabi and Dubai and Sharjah. Great that you are here. Mr. Ben Smith, the head of research and innovation of the Chelsea Football Club. I'm delighted that you are here. I think it's very interesting for young people. Whenever one hears of research and innovation, you think of science and technology or engineering. But the fact that there is a position as a head of research and innovation within a football club is fascinating. And I'm sure the students would love to hear from you later on what that responsibility entails. With that, Dr. Singh, let me congratulate you once again. The pillars, Gaurav, Marut, Kanishk, Professor Bhavna, your whole team. I know how much it takes to organize a conference like InBush. To all, I would all call you all family members who are here, the leaders from around the world. Thank you for being and always being part of the Amity family and always supporting what we're doing. Dr. Singh, all the very best to you.
Thank you so much, sir. It is all because of your blessings and the guidance and leadership that such panels and such partnerships are possible. But as you rightly mentioned, sports is an excellent area for nurturing people. And yes, to have a position as a sports and innovation, Mr. Ben Smith, it's an honor for Amity. So with your permission, Honorable Chancellor, we confer the Amity Excellence Award for Sports and Innovation and Research to Mr. Ben Smith, and would request him for his special address on this occasion. Gaurav, if you can introduce the speaker.
Mr. Ben Smith is currently Head of Research and Innovation at Chelsea Football Club and brings 15 plus years of experience in world-class sports to the table. His work has historically been in technology, data, and systems, with a recent additional focus on strategic projects, research, and innovation. At Chelsea Football Club, Ben has held a wide range of roles based on key projects and strategic responsibilities, delivering organizational improvement, effective player management, and the application of technology and data within youth recruitment and talent development. Over to you, Mr. Ben Smith, for your address.
Hi, thank you very much for the very kind words, and thank you very much for having me here. Yeah, very honoured to be able to talk to everyone today, and happy to share some of my experience at Chelsea, some of the things that are really important to my work in the organisation, and hopefully and have some people certainly interested and hopefully inspired to do some fantastic work going forward. How would you like me to start the area here? What are the key things you'd like to discuss?
Mr. Ben, if you can talk about the innovative practices and how that has helped to nurture this area of sport and hence bring up a better culture.
Sure. Okay, so my role is around team performance innovation. Obviously, there's large and important aspects around commercial innovation within football and Chelsea specifically. However, my role is very much with the team performance. And I have a stronger focus towards player development, and so my job is around finding innovation, technologies, and ways of improving how our players and our teams perform. Part of that is around understanding new technologies and processes that come out into the world. And tertiary education is a fantastic resource for understanding new methods and approaches. So it's really important for us to have relationships such as the one we have with yourselves, with UK relationships, to understand how things are progressing across a wide range of industries that may or may not then have a direct benefit to Chelsea, because we go, okay, that's fantastic new technology. There's a new process has been developed that we think would be a direct fit to helping our teams perform more effectively, It may be a new way of measuring physiological development. It may be new psychological development techniques. There's direct application into professional sport from things happening in education. But there's also a really important aspect around organizational development, because not all improvements are direct things for helping players perform more effectively. By creating a better organizational environment where staff are more effective, work processes are more efficient, and we have a sort of a better long-term sustainable culture, that all has an indirect impact on our players' ability to perform. And so those are important aspects that we pay a lot of attention to make sure that we are getting the benefits of direct improvement for player development, but also the indirect improvements of, you know, a better staff management system, of having easier communication within the organization. Because these are things that, whilst they seem trivial, they become small but important barriers to really effective performance, because people just can't do their jobs as effectively or as well. And so these are often overlooked, but I would say very important aspects of long-term sustainable organizational improvement, which is fundamental if you're going to, you know, maintain your standing over the time period that Chelsea have ambitions to.
Thank you so much. I now take the privilege of inviting our esteemed partner, University of Northampton. Professor Nick Inbush is never complete without you. May we have your address on this inaugural session, please?
Thank you, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Nick Petford. I'm the Vice Chancellor at the University of Northampton in the UK. And as others have said, a long-term partner with Amity. So my good friend, Professor Singh, I'd also like to thank Paneet from University of Northampton, who's worked with us and with the Amity family, Dr. Chauhan. We really do feel that we're part of a bigger, without sounding, you know, glib, family movement with Amity University and the University of Northampton. So thank you, everybody who's been involved in that. Just a brief update on some of the projects that we've been working with on Amity over the years, and it's, I think, Professor Singh, nearly 10 years now of partnership we've had with you. We started off in the Noida campus. We've had some activity in London, but we've had very great success in Singapore, in Mauritius. We've also explored opportunities with you, with Amity in the US, and also in Kenya. So it's great to see all of these things. Some of them work better than others, but that's the whole point of partnerships, and trusting each other, and realizing where the benefits are, and perhaps where the benefits aren't worth pursuing any further. So I think being honest with each other, being trustful as part of this family mentality has worked very well for the University of Northampton, and I think it's worked well for Amity. So thank you, everybody, with that, and I'm looking forward to an even greater future ahead with our partnership. So it's a pleasure to open this session. Oh, I should also say to Ben, well, Ben, I'm a lifelong Chelsea fan. So it's great to see you there. Congratulations. What I want to touch on it's the theme really is about nurturing Indo-UK cooperation. It says post-Brexit, but I think Brexit feels a long time ago now in the UK. Certainly to me, it's more post-pandemic, I think, post-COVID, what the world's going to look like in terms of partnerships. I want to touch upon 4 themes that I think are relevant, not just for UK universities, but universities across the world wanting to work in partnership with Amity and other Indian universities. And that's a really important piece of policy, the new educational policy for India, the NEP, new educational policy. What does that mean for collaboration? I want to touch upon research, look at trends, student trends, which might be changing now post-COVID, and also the EdTech revolution, which India as a country is really steaming ahead and doing some great work. So on the policy then, this national education policy is the first new policy for 34 years in India. It really is a bit of a groundbreaking piece of policy, and it's going to change the landscape, I think. It's based on pillars of access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. And is really set to transform India even to an even more vibrant knowledge hub. The trajectory of the country has been fantastic over the last 20 years. And when you hear the stories that Professor Singh said about the early days of InBush, and look where India is now, it's just a tremendous acceleration of velocity, and that's not going to stop. Okay, so it's how we work in collaboration with Indian universities and other institutions to the benefit of countries, not just between UK and India, but around the world. I think is a really exciting opportunity for us all. So this, the NEP, this new policy 2020 emphasizes systematic institutional improvements to things like regulation, to governance, and the promotion of multidisciplinary academics and research in Indian universities. And I think several aspects of the plan create new opportunities for UK and other HEIs, universities. So for example, changes to the basic education system will make Indian school leavers more prepared to directly enter a UK undergraduate program. There's a new nationwide academic credit system that will simplify credit recognition, partnerships between UK and Indian universities. And as I understand it, legislation may soon be submitted to allow some universities to open branch campuses in India. Now that might be direct competition with Professor Singh, an amateur university, but that's all part of the how the partnership program rolls out, I guess. But anyway, great opportunities for not just UK universities, but universities around the world, including our colleagues in Australia. Indian universities were tasked as part of this review with coming up with new teaching and learning methodologies, and this notion of cross-disciplinary learning. I think these are areas that the UK does do pretty well in and can help out. As a staff development, is also recognised an essential component to support the ambition of the plan. It recognises digital technologies and high quality outcomes. And I think a key challenge is that perhaps India has long focused on inputs as measurements. So there needs to be a shift towards assessing quality by a focus on outcomes. And I think the shared experience with UK universities who are quite versed in this, using outcomes as metrics, will be useful for India as it moves in this more output driven trajectory. I think another key area will be building on links with industry between Indian universities and industry. Sort of thing we've heard about with Chelsea is a great example, actually, of reaching out to a massive, global industry. And how can those links be developed in other areas? Professor Singh, you may remember we had a fashion show at Amity. So the fashion industry is huge. The leather industry is huge in India, and there are opportunities in all of those spheres as we move forward. I think vocational education, or the plan certainly looks at vocational and applied education to become more important as the future rolls out. So, for example, the degree apprenticeship model that's been well developed in the UK is perhaps another good example of where Indo-UK collaboration could bear fruit. Indian regulatory bodies need to ensure that they recognise different measures of quality in terms of international universities. And I'm going to say this, it means not just a focus on the top 100 QS universities or the THE ranked universities, but looking more broadly at the multidimensional aspects of quality that embraces the diversity of UK providers. And many of the best vocational providers, certainly in the UK, are not necessarily those highest ranked in those tables, which, to be bluntly honest, are designed by journalists to sell their products and services. Not necessarily in the best interests of universities. On research, I think it's important to help build capacity in India. There appears to be a need to develop more PhD programs, perhaps across the country, that spur the innovation and the IP outputs. I think that needs to be looked at if research targets in the NEP plan and growth are to be achieved. I think models for joint and shared PhD programs and new methodologies for developing early career researchers, and in particular the establishment of a national research foundation in India modeled on the National Science Foundation, the NSF in the United States. I think that looks on the cards. I think if that could happen, it would be much easier then to develop cross-border research links at national level. So for example, dialogue between in the UKRI and the new Indian body would be much more streamlined than it is in the present, that has been in the past rather, where conversations around research and innovation tend to, in my experience, took place across different Indian ministries, and it was a bit fragmented. Okay, so I think single body overseeing all of this would be really, really strong. Key research areas, things like artificial intelligence, emerging technologies, sustainability, agri-tech. These are really great things that the UK can help out with as well as India powers ahead. Student trends, well, very briefly, there's an appetite for mobility. It's still there post-COVID. In fact, it seems to have grown. I don't know other universities around the world, but in the UK, our applications for overseas students have gone through the roof since the pandemic, which is something which we didn't necessarily expect. And India is still a very, very big market for us here at Northampton. Much of this has been driven by post-study work opportunities, permanent residency status, that's helped. It's still heavily postgraduate, but undergraduate is growing, certainly at our university. There's an increased interest in new subject areas in the UK, including data science, data analytics, AI and machine learning, media, biosciences, and with Ben there, I should also sports sciences. That's becoming very, very popular as well. Sports science, sports physiology, sports psychology, sports journalism. Things to do with sports are becoming increasingly popular. I think it's great to see a potential growth in the liberal arts in India, with research showing that more students are interested in organizations around the world and in India which have an ethical or purpose-driven function. They have sustainability credentials, they're moving towards zero carbon, etc. I think these are areas which we need to focus on as well. I think the drive to more job-focused education may mean that the current 3-year undergraduate model that we're all familiar with, or combinations thereof, between UK and Indian universities may need to be more flexible, with greater focus on skills development, perhaps in-house work, in company working, in work training and micro credentials as well. I think the rise of EdTech, India is one of the fastest growing markets in the world for EdTech. There's many new players there, funded by venture capital money, some significant funds, private equity money has gone into the EdTech sector in India. Again, a key focus around this appears to be upskilling or reskilling people in work who've maybe graduated with 1 or 2 degrees, perhaps an MBA, but you need to top up that skill level to get that promotion that you need at work, etc. And also mainstream delivery, online delivery in schools across India and also universities. I think it might be fair to say that some areas of the Indian education economy lack some of the resource and expertise to move to a delivery of this online at scale across the country. And I think there are opportunities, again, for UK universities and others to help share their experience in this area. I think finally, just to wrap up, I think since COVID, online delivery has seen a huge increase in the cultural acceptance as a preferred way of learning. Okay, what I mean by that is it's no longer seen as a second-class route. Right? Online is as good, sometimes can even be better than quite a lot of face-to-face tuition. It's certainly a more flexible form of delivery. And that's an interesting cultural shift that I think we need to be aware of. EdTech is a disruptor, obviously, and a driver for change, and new models will come to the fore, and I think that makes space for alliances between public, private bodies in India and the UK and around the world to develop this EdTech revolution. Again, I think all of this will present significant opportunities for entrepreneurial universities in the UK and around the world to work much more closely in future with our colleagues and friends in India. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Petford. And indeed, as our Honorable Chancellor mentioned, it was fascinating to see your work as a geologist, and it's always inspiring to hear you. You're indeed one of the friends of Amity University, and it's always a pleasure to host you. May I now request Professor Ian Martin, who's the Vice Chancellor, Deakin University. Professor Ian Martin leads the Deakin University and determines its strategic and academic vision. He also plays a major role in cultivating and sustaining Deakin University's relationship with its many key external stakeholders. Over to you, Professor Martin.
Thank you very much indeed, colleagues. It's great to be joining you this evening, albeit sad that it's not in person. I really am glad to have the opportunity to speak with you tonight, and it's great that Amity is continuing their wonderful tradition of organising these really high quality international conferences that bring so many of us together. I was asked to talk a little bit about the theme for the conference, and the 5 Ps, and you look at that and you think, oh, 5 Ps and strategy. Well, Henry Mintzberg talked about that for companies back in the 1980s. But it's interesting to look back and reflect on what's changed since then. And what has changed is those 5 Ps were incredibly inward-looking Ps. They were talking about the organization almost in isolation from what was happening around. The 5 Ps that you've brought as the theme for today's conference, I would say, are those that are looking outwards. They're looking out to the impact that we as an institution have, the importance of working within our communities in terms of partners and place, and perhaps most importantly, this issue of sustainability. And that's not just sustainability in an environmental sense, although none of us would diminish just how important a challenge that is, but it's sustainability in our mission, coming up with ways that not can we just deliver for 1 year, but we can continue to make a change, adapt, reflect, refine for many years to come. All of us who lead organizations are thinking all the time about what's coming next. As we plan, we brainstorm opportunities and potential challenges, and that has its advantages, but it has its weaknesses. I don't think there were many institutions, even in 2019, that predicted and foresaw the last 2 years that we've had. As we look back to look forward, I think there is much that we can learn from ahead that will take us in the way that your 5 Ps are talking about. I started my role as Vice Chancellor of Deakin in July 2019, 6 months before COVID started to become a major global event. On taking over, I began to think about where we might go for the future, what we might need to do. And part of that thinking was I took to our executive a series of what we thought were entirely ridiculously extreme hypothetical challenges. We had about 8 of them as to how would our institution respond if any one of these came to fruition. And it's slightly interesting to look back that 2 of them we actually lived less than 2 months later. One was online replaces the physical campus because that's the way that students want to go. Place becomes almost unimportant because everybody globally is connected digitally. And secondly, and we didn't predict it would be a pandemic, but we said global environmental societal pressures around travel and carbon footprints stopped anybody coming to Australia because they said it's just too far to come for international study. And what happened? Virtually nobody's arrived for 2 years. They now are coming and it's great to see. But I think I learned from that is that sense of thinking about our place in the world, what we do, how we do it is so important. And anytime I look at a new strategy, I'm not going to quite laugh at that session on the extreme, what might happen, because we've all lived it. The 5 Ps that you've talked about for this year's conference title are extremely relevant to our university, and I would argue to all of the universities that are joining us today. People. Any university is no more and no less than the sum capabilities of the people who make up the university community. Whether that's the student community or the staff community, the faculty community, that makes it up. There is no great university in the world without great people. There are great universities in lousy physical facilities, but there are no great universities without great people. Purpose. Why are we here? And I think, again, one of the things that the last 2 years has challenged all of our mind is why are we here as universities? And ultimately, the power of education to equip our students to develop and lead meaningful lives and careers, or to help equip them do that, remains at the core heart. And again, it was always a touchstone to come back. And in parallel with that, the research and innovation portfolio. Research, studying, developing, exploring new ideas, innovation, finding ways to put those ideas into practice to make a difference. Again, core to our heart. Let's think about what we need to do. Partnerships. I needn't say anything more about partnerships being in the community we're in today. None of us as an organization can operate as an isolated island. There are many critiques of our sector saying, well, we're there, we're ivory towers on the hill, nobody comes in, nobody goes out. The only way we will convince the wider community that that is such an inaccurate representation of what we are about is to make sure that those partnerships that we have are meaningful and are making a difference to communities outside our organizations. Planet. Of all the challenges we face as humanity, ensuring that we create a sustainable future in terms of the way we think about resources, energy, water, is amongst the most important. And I would argue that both through our education and research missions, that's probably one of our most important areas of focus for the next 10, 15, 20 years. We can lead, we can develop skills, but I would argue almost more importantly, we as universities can be role models. We can actually not just talk about it, but actually do it. We've made a commitment as a university to be carbon neutral by 2025. We are well on the track to doing it. And indeed, we hope a couple of years later, we'll actually be carbon positive in terms of actually making a net contribution back the other way. But not only that, using our campuses as living laboratories, bringing that experience onto the campus, thinking about how we create some of the most water sustainable environments in Australia. So important. And performance, well, again, that focus on bringing it all together and making the maximum possible difference from what we need to achieve is so critical for what we do. For Deakin, those 5 Ps, we don't describe them in that way. We started with a strategy that actually had 3 Ps, purpose, place, and partnerships. We went away from the name because it didn't quite work. But those Ps summarize what we're about, and the partnerships is particularly important. Moving on with that partnership theme, where we sit internationally is more important than ever. And one of the blessings of COVID, if there have been many, is that actually we probably have more communication and engagement with our international partners than we ever have had, because it's been okay to communicate digitally. It's not a second-rate tool. The world has changed. It's an entirely legitimate way of coming together. Before 2019, if I'd have said to a partner, oh, I'm not going to travel and see you, we're just going to have a video conference, they would question your commitment to that partnership. Now, face-to-face important, but that partnership is so important. Every time I travel to India, and I've been doing it now for a very long time, from as a medical student back in 1985, where I spent 3 months in Uttar Pradesh, which was a formative experience, and on, I've seen your wonderful country develop. But each time I come, I'm reminded different culture, different religions, different things. But actually, what binds us together is far, far greater than what separates us. That sense of community, that sense of the importance of education in building those communities, the importance of contributing back, all comes through every time you come through. The outside world has changed so much in those 40-odd years since I first visited India, but that inherent nature of the relationship is so important. For Deakin, we see our role in Australia as being a bridge. We take what we do to the world, but at the same time, we're a conduit for our global partners to bring experienced students, others, into the Australian system. And that is such a rich part of what we do. Over the last 3 or 4 years, it's been heartening to see the strengthening Australian-Indian relationship. Some of it driven economically, much of it driven through shared values. But also Nick made comment about the new educational plan. And I think, again, that sense that we're seeing movement where the strength of partnerships is really being seen. So that is so exciting. We'll continue to work on that. We'll continue to see it as critically important as we continue to build our university. The last 2 years, like for so many of us, have been incredibly challenging. But what we've seen is as long as we come back to that core purpose of our organization, linked to our partnerships, we will remain strong. And paradoxically, Deakin came out of 2 years of isolation from the rest of the world and COVID with probably a more international facing university, actually in terms of student numbers, a larger university, and a much, much stronger sense of that passion and determination to deliver on the core purpose of our university. Amity's been a part of our journey. I hope it will continue to be a part of our journey. And thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Thank you, Professor Martin. We always look forward to welcoming you to our campus. And of course, it was a pleasure to have all the Deakin students with us as well on many occasions as a part of the New Colombo Plan. We are very proud, with the permission of Honorable Chancellor, to confer upon you the Global Academic Excellence Award and look forward to many more collaborative initiatives with the Deakin and with Australia. It is also a very proud moment for us to give the memorable address to Professor Nick, without whom, as we mentioned, InBush is never possible, and he has always been the pillar and partner support for all our initiatives worldwide. Honorable Chancellor and Group Vice Chancellor and all the Vice Chancellors who are here, and we have been also joined by esteemed panelists of our Indo-UK session. I have a great pleasure in announcing that we are also conducting the International Conference on Innovative Practices in Technology and Management. Amity is a research and innovation-driven university, and our focus is always to enhance and further best practices in every domain as a part of engineering and technology. And the talks that everyone was saying about the disruptive technology, artificial intelligence, IEEE has been one of the pillars in which we have been organizing conferences. And this year we have representations from across the world, including Sweden, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, Canada, France, USA, Australia. And over the next 2 days, there will be various research paper presentations as a part of this conference. And of course, Professor Mike, who was just with us, has been a global advisor of all the IEEE conferences. I would now invite all the dignitaries here to unveil the various publications that our faculty, our students, and our research scholars have been publishing in various areas. So with your permission, Honorable Chancellor and Group Vice Chancellor and all the dignitaries on the panel today, we are very proud to release many Scopus Index journals, which include the following Springer publications in various topics. As you can see, they range from international business, interdisciplinary research, which is very, very important, as well as a number of other initiatives in green manufacturing, lean manufacturing, geospatial data science in healthcare, and all for a society 5.0. Amity has always been instrumental in taking in Industry 4.0, Education 4.0, and we're looking now to take many initiatives in 5.0 as well. We have also been publishing with the publications with Taylor and Francis Group, International Finance, Sustainability, HR practices, and very big emphasis on tackling the disruptions due to the COVID scenario. Publications in the area of bioinformatics using various technologies of artificial intelligence, books by our renowned faculty and scholars and students across the world. Deep learning, virtual medical care, different applications, and again with contributions from researchers worldwide. Education by itself has also been an area where we have been doing extensive research, and one of the books that we are releasing is Technology Training from Educators from Past to Present. New education policy and many other initiatives in store for digital transformations in education and emerging markets and opportunities, another book that we have been proud to publish as a part of this conference. Various compilations from all our scholars published in the form of Amity Journal of Management Research, as well as a form of Scopus indexed publications and research paper proceedings. We had an exciting session on happiness and more research in this area through Amity Journal of Happiness and Peace for a better sustainable world-class organization. Case study presentations and a lot of participation in terms of people in presenting these cases in engineering, in technology, in biosciences, in different domains, and all being published in ECCH as a part of this compilation. It is all because of the partnerships that we have with distinguished universities and organizations like all of you. With that, we now begin with the Indo-UK session, which is an exciting deliberation on how in the post-COVID world and the post-BREXIT world in particular, how Indian universities and organizations and UK universities and organizations can bring their hand together. Gaurav, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. And was indeed a wonderful inaugural session. And once again, I thank all the esteemed keynote speakers, our Honorable Chancellor, our Honorable Group Vice Chancellor, and all the other dignitaries who are present here with us. Yes, indeed, now we are beginning the UK focus sessions, and I think over the next 2 years and over the next 2 days, and the way InBush has been shaped over the past 2 years has been about region-specific initiatives, region-specific challenges, and how we can overcome those challenges. And taking that tradition for the past 2 years, specifically region-wise InBush sessions, we now move on to theme focus UK, nurturing Indo-UK cooperation post-Brexit. We would begin with the keynote address, and I would call upon Sri Rohit Wadhwana, First Secretary, High Commission of India, United Kingdom. I would request my colleague Ganesh to please share the slide. Thank you, Ganesh. We are also conferring Amity Excellence Award for fostering international diplomatic relations with India and UK on Sri Rohit Wadhwana, First Secretary, High Commission of India, UK. He joined Indian Foreign Services in 2010, and previously he has served in various capacities as at Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi and Embassy of India in Tehran. Without further ado, may I please request you to address the gathering.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'm honored to be mentioned for this Excellence Award. As you all might be aware, being a government servant, I might have certain restrictions and also certain procedures, but the mention, for the mention, I'm really, really thankful to you, and I appreciate the mention of that. On Indo-UK relationship, perhaps I would say, working here for last 2.5 years to almost 3 years now in this country. When I came here, it was the time to Brexit, but Brexit had not taken place yet. During the tenure, I have seen the Brexit procedure, and then we also have unfortunately seen the COVID situation. In this Brexit and COVID, during this period, the High Commission, especially Economic Wing, has been extremely busy and constructively working towards fostering these bilateral ties and getting maximum for the benefits of both the countries and the people of these two nations. You might be aware that on 4th May 2021, both Prime Ministers, our Prime Minister Honorable Sri Narendra Modi ji and Right Honorable Boris Johnson, both of them had a virtual summit. That summit happened virtually because of the COVID situation. Honorable Prime Minister of India had invited the Prime Minister of UK to be the chief guest at the Republic Day ceremony on 26 January 2021. But the COVID waves, first in UK, then in India, and then again in UK, has somehow hampered the travels of prime ministers. Still, the engagement has not been slowed down. I'll give you an example. During 2019-2020, our Commerce and Industry Minister, Sri Piyush Goyal, was meeting with his counterpart at that time, Right Honorable Elizabeth Truss, who was Secretary of State for International Trade at that time. So they were meeting almost monthly. They had given instruction to meet, have a meeting by Minister of State level, and then officer level, 15 days, weekly, etc. And then when the summit took place, virtual summit took place, we announced and both ministers signed the enhanced trade partnership in the economic front. This enhanced trade partnership has paved the way for free trade agreement. And you are aware that now we have launched the negotiation for free trade agreement between the two countries. The seats for free trade agreement and all other future initiatives for the 1 decade to come has been shown by both prime ministers by very clearly putting forward the roadmap 2030 that will apply for India-UK relationship. And that's what we aim to achieve. Anyone who studies the relationship of India and UK and wants to see what post-Brexit relationship between these two countries are going to be, perhaps the roadmap is the best document to go to and visit. As I'm speaking on the platform of an university, I'm pleased to say that since last 2 years, when the post-study work visa was granted by the UK, the consistent reduction in number of students from, let's say, 40,000 to 17, 18,000 from 2013 to 2018, 19 has now taken the positive trend. And now last year it was 100% growth in Indian students coming to the UK. High Commission and other organizations have been very actively promoting this cause, very actively putting forward this request of the students that Indian students, when they come to study in the UK, they also would like to gain experience by working after they study. And UK has opened up that route. And I'm happy that Indian students are taking more benefit out of that, and more students are coming studying here. But this relationship is not only of visit for 2 years, work for 2 years and going back. This relationship is much more than just exchange of students or just working here. It is more for the reason that MET, this excellent university, is also present in the UK. This is an example how we would like to have this academic relationship, education front relationship, and also our collaboration in academia and industry and policy fields. Perhaps we can do much more on that, and I'm happy to mention that MET's presence here will be the platform which can be used as a springboard to take this course forward. You might have read, you might have heard recently our High Commissioner spoke in an event when she mentioned that IITs might open their branches in the UK, and that statement has been taken so positively by the UK side that we are receiving many positive responses, calls and initiatives by various universities that we would like to collaborate. Similarly, new education policy that India had launched, it has generated a lot of interest in the UK. We are in touch with many universities and academic institutions who would like to partner with Indian education institutions at all level, not only for the graduate, postgraduate, technical, but also skill building at vocational level, also school curriculum and various ways. And it is very much possible. I'll give you another reason why it is more likely to happen. One, because we are seeing the progressive and very open mindset by from both the sides on education front. Indian IT companies, which are having big presence in the UK, they are active in helping the UK government to modernize their education platforms, their e-governance platforms, and their health platforms, Infosys, HCL, Tata's. All these are actively involved. This has created a bridge, I would say. This has created a trust. The Indian academicians who are working in these UK universities and providing their very respectful services have earned a lot of respect from the UK side. So quality of Indian talent is well appreciated, and the strength of Indian market and the fact that India is the youngest demography in the world today and going to remain for considerable time in near future, that generates lot of interest in the UK institutions and industry. To streamline this interest and to make best out of that, what we are doing is we are using our official platforms. We are taking it up at our best possible mechanisms like Joint Economic and Trade Committee, which is co-chaired by both trade ministers, trade and commerce ministers. Similarly, the Economic and Finance Dialogue, which is co-chaired by our Honorable Finance Minister and Chancellor of Exchequer from the UK. These are the platforms where we have been taking up that how to promote the bilateral engagement, trade investment, and all other collaborations. In defense sector as well, the recent visit of Container Strike Group last year has proven that we have much more possibility of engaging on that front as well. Ours is sharing of principles. And since historic time, you are all aware, we have been comparing oldest and largest democracies and the free economies that we want to promote. Recently, signing of our comprehensive economic partnership with UAE has promoted the confidence, has kind of given a boost to the spirit of UK and Indian industries that we will be able to sign the FTA. And FTA is very, very comprehensive, I must say, without opening up the negotiation cards. I must say that it's very comprehensive, will include many things, including possibly some harmonization of standards as well as recognition of degrees, which will help in easy transfer of talent and easy movement of services. So that's why we are very much hopeful on delivering the best outcome from the FTA, maybe by the end of this year itself or maximum early next year. If and when soon the visit of Right Honorable Boris Johnson, UK Prime Minister to India happens this year, maybe in the mid of this year, we are also aiming to sign an interim agreement which will give confidence and early outcomes, early low-hanging fruits as the outcome for this FTA negotiations. I'll briefly mention to you, because you are an academic institution and this platform is perhaps the best one to mention about the talent and innovation and research. So startups on that front, you have noted that India is providing an excellent opportunity and market for new innovation, new startups, new entrepreneurship. And if we just see the figures given by Startup India, which is the flagship program of the government of India, we are seeing that more and more unicorns are coming from India. Similarly, the UK has the possibility of providing innovation hub, providing the sandboxes and much required training and capital for the startups. And therefore, we are promoting this collaboration between the two countries. Young and talented entrepreneurs have been taking advantage of this as well. On financial services sides, both countries are engaged through the economic and finance dialogue, the renewable energy promotion, e-vehicle, the recent takeover by the TVS of Norton Bikes is just an example to mention in this particular direction how e-vehicles are going to work. Ola is present here in the UK and they have also been promoting the e-vehicles. I have noted the comment and which is very positively mentioned, the acceptance of the mutual qualification and degrees. I might mention that yes, that is certainly on the table and that is the work is going on that, and you will soon hear more positive news on that. Coming back to the research and innovation, I would say that recently we have conferred upon Professor Prakhar Das Gupta the Padma Shri Award, one of the highest civilian awards of India, and that was for the medicine, telemedicine, and the work that King's College through Professor Prakhar Das Gupta had done during the pandemic time. So this kind of, and then he is the person of Indian origin. So that contribution shows how at individual level, how at institution level, our relationship in innovation research and healthcare sector is fostered, is strengthened. You have the best example of Serum Institute of India, AstraZeneca, Oxford vaccine, which has given life, which has given the protection to over 70% of Indians, and the same vaccine has been exported, donated to more than 150 countries from Pune, from Serum Institute of India, which is the biggest achievement I would say that we could have done together. So this collaboration is not for the gain of the two countries, but it is more for the benefit of the world. It is not win-win for the two countries, but it goes a long way and provides the benefits to the world at large. On health sector, I mean, it goes without saying that India has proven itself the pharmacy of the world, and there also academics and research and innovation comes as at the forefront. So perhaps health sector and vaccination was the best example I could have given at the current time. New and emerging technologies, community engagement, tourism, 75 years of our bilateral friendship, and anything I mentioned here will be more of encouraging in nature and will provide us a kind of positive picture. And Brexit has certainly given much more opportunities for India and the UK to build on this relationship. I have tried to cover as much as I could in this keynote, and I hope this will give a very positive sense of what we are trying to achieve between the two countries. Thank you very much once again for having me here, and my appreciation to Honorable Chancellors, Vice Chancellor, Group Vice Chancellor, and all the organizers of this conference. Thank you very much once again.
Rohitji, thank you so much for your very valuable insights and for the service that you are doing for our nation, and especially now to build bridges between the United Kingdom and India. I look forward to meeting you in London sometime. As you rightly said, we have a very beautiful campus in Bedford Square right next to the British Museum. I think maybe the only Indian foundation to have a campus in the United Kingdom. And over the years, thousands and thousands of students have gone between India and the United Kingdom back and forth. And we're delighted that you have come today. We look forward to the free trade agreement to be signed between our countries. I was there in person when our Minister of Commerce, Piyush Goyalji, signed the agreement with the United Arab Emirates Minister of Economy just some days back. And it is phenomenal what difference it will make to the relations between our country and the UAE. And we look forward to the same to happen between India and the United Kingdom. So Reggie, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that keynote address, and thank you, Honorable Chancellor. We now have with us Professor Deborah Kembe, Rector, University of Edinburgh, UK. We are conferring AMTI Global Excellence Award for Women Leadership on Professor Deborah Kembe. She was called to the Congolese Bar Association in 2000 and has been a member of the Institute of Translation and Interpreting from 2010 to 2020. In 2016, she joined the language services of the Office of the Prosecutor at the International Criminal Court and the International Criminal Court Bar Association, ICCBA. May I now request Professor Kembe to deliver the special address.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so very much for having me among you today. I feel privileged. Also, I remember your enthusiasm and warm welcome when I was appointed rector of Edinburgh University. This was a giant step to equality, diversity, and inclusion in the heart of a university who is extremely conservative and trying to get everybody on board to share the experience of our education and to bring forward the spirit of community gathering in this world where many things are coming. BREXIT is here, the pandemic is here, the inequality side, the hidden side of the equality is coming up. But, you know, in this world, there are moments where everybody is watching to see what will be the breath of fresh air will come to this world to make us move forward. And I came in with honor, and I am really honored, and I'm saying this honor, by India welcoming me from the day forward, from the first day, and sending so many invitations for me to come across and to come to India. That day will come. I will certainly come to India and meet all the fabulous and the rich culture and the richness of India and its people. Right now, I am accepting this award on behalf of the Freedom Walk campaign, this civil rights movement that brings reforms on behalf of citizens by promoting social reform, racial justice, and community harmony. It is in that spirit that I went to the University of Edinburgh and taking the step of introducing those reforms that make us feel respectful of each other, in dignity, and caring about each other, and see how we can move forward in this world where everything seems to collapse around us. But our humanity, it's our strength. Our connection, one another, is our strength. And if we just value the fact that in this world, if we don't look at each other, if we don't learn from each other, if we don't learn from things that we never heard before, and if us at the University of Edinburgh, we're not opening the doors to new places, we are condemning ourselves to suffering. The joy and happiness is when we come together, when we support each other, and where our knowledge is shared openly. So equal opportunity for all. That is the motto of the Freedom Walk campaign. Thank you very much for having me today. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kembe, for the special address. Indeed, it is our pleasure to host you today.
Kembe, you know, you are always a very, very inspirational person. I have heard you at many occasions, and a delight for our students, and the message that you have given of working together, being together, so valuable for them. Thank you so much. Very kind.
Thank you for having me. Have a good conference together. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We now move on to the panel discussion, Nurturing Indo-UK Cooperation Post-Brexit. And we have all our esteemed panelists today with us. Let me quickly introduce all of them to our audience today. We have with us Professor Philip, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, University of Cambridge, UK. Professor Philip joins Bath from the University of Cambridge, where he is a fellow of Clare College and has held a number of roles since joining as Professor of Land Economy in 2008. Most recently, he was head of the School of Humanities and Social Sciences for 5 years, special advisor to the Vice Chancellor on City and Regional Affairs, and a Deputy Vice Chancellor. His academic background is in urban planning, and his most recent research has explored the impacts of digital technology upon cities. I welcome you, Professor Philip. We have with us Professor Edward Peck, Vice Chancellor and President, Nottingham Trent University, NTU. Professor Edward Peck joined NTU as Vice Chancellor and President on 1st August 2014. Beyond the university, Professor Peck is a trustee of the UK Universities and Colleges Employers Association, UCEA, Deputy Chair of the UK Universities and Colleges Admission Service, UCAS, and an elected member of the Board of Universities, UK. Welcome, Professor Peck. We are also joined by Professor James Tooley, Vice Chancellor, University of Buckingham, UK. Professor James Tooley was appointed Vice Chancellor at the University of Buckingham on 1st October 2020, where he is also Professor of Educational Entrepreneurship and Policy. For 2 decades, he was Professor of Education Policy at Newcastle University. He was previously an academic at the Universities of Oxford and Manchester. I welcome you, Professor Tully. We have with us Ms. Ritika Chanda Paruk, Director Education, India. Ms. Ritika began her career as a research fellow working on drug clearance system at the Bose Institute, Kolkata, on a CSIR fellowship. After 4 years in a laboratory, she gave up on research to look after her young son and begin a new career in teaching. The 6 years she spent teaching science and particularly biology to middle and secondary school students were the most enjoyable years of her life. Ms. Ritika, we welcome you. We also have with us Ms. Shalini Khemka, founder and executive E2 Exchange UK. She founded E2 Exchange in 2011 with the mission to develop the largest and most active entrepreneurial ecosystem in the UK to enable extraordinary entrepreneurship. E2E focuses on connecting founders, champions entrepreneurship, create communities, and invest capital via their GBP 50 billion facility to finance through growth companies. Welcome, Ms. Khemka. We also have with us today Professor Richard Follett, who is the Deputy Pro-Vice Chancellor and Associate Vice President International at the University of Sussex, UK. He oversees Sussex International Strategy, developing a global network of education partners in teaching and research. He is also Professor of American History and a specialist on the history of slavery and emancipation. He enjoys a strong international reputation for his scholarship and public engagement work. Professor Follett, I welcome you. Without further ado, I would hand over the panel discussion to our session moderator, our Group Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Gurinder Singh sir.
Thank you, Gaurav, and it's such a pleasure to see our friends from UK in this very interesting panel discussion in which we will be talking about not only the aspects which are important from the education point, but also we'll be discussing on how we can bring industry closer to India and to UK. I have first question for Professor James, who has joined us from the University of Birmingham as a Vice Chancellor. Professor James, how do you think Brexit has helped UK after its disassociation with the European Union?
So thank you, Prof. It's good to be here, and it's good to be talking to people from Amity University. I've followed you closely over the years. I have lived in India myself in the past, and it's great to be here. So, I mean, your question was a bit contentious in a way. I was pro-Brexit. I'm quite unusual, probably as a Vice Chancellor, to come out in that way. But obviously our relationships with the European Union are important. But I think I can just reiterate what the speaker from the High Commission said just now. There is this emphasis, the context is one where the UK government is very keen on deepening relations with India. That 4th of May 2021 meeting between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Boris Johnson, they did agree to a new enhanced trade partnership. We're looking for this free trade agreements. And so that is made possible by Brexit. The deeper ties are made possible by Brexit. And so that means that's all to the good in my view, but we don't have to see this as a zero-sum game. We want deep ties with Europe as well. And I'm sure trade these trade agreements can be encouraged and be nurtured with all countries, not excluding some. So that's a sort of a brief answer to your question.
Thank you. Professor Philip, you have been at the helm of the affairs at Cambridge. You have done so much research on the policy. Can we ask you that under the new education policy, Prime Minister Modi is trying hard to bring some of the top universities from UK to India. what has been the response of the UK universities? Are they keen to establish their campuses? Do they really want to come to India? And if they want to come to India, are they looking for some kind of investments, government support, or they want to have a private-public partnership? Maybe that you can comment, and I would request all the other panelists also to comment on this very important aspect, which is related with the new education policy. Over to you, Professor Philip.
Thank you very much. And can I just start by thanking you all for inviting me today and apologising because Professor Ian White, who's the Vice Chancellor of Bath, unfortunately has COVID at the moment. So I've stepped in, and I'm new to Bath. In fact, I'm so new I haven't even started yet. So what I'm going to say is going to be informed by my broader experiences, particularly at Cambridge. I mean, I think there are three things that are important going forward. And the first is in terms of closer working relations and partnerships, is to have the right attitude. I think that's in place. I mean, essentially, we are all different in many ways as universities, but fundamentally, we have a similar attitude. We have a similar desire to undertake world-class research and teaching and impact. And I think providing that attitude is there, the rest of it will surely follow. The second point is that governments can help and they can hinder. And at the moment, I'm picking up a very strong feeling that governments are in a place where they want to be supportive of this kind of initiative, both the UK government and the Indian government. And there are a number of things that they can help by putting in place. And we mentioned the trade agreement, but another is, I think, around free flow of people and free flow of ideas, and governments can be important in that. And thirdly, I think the important thing is to have some focus to this. What is it we're trying to achieve? And what are the challenges that we are trying to tackle? And in my own area of, around cities and urban policy, the answer to that is pretty clear. It's around the climate emergency, it's around energy transitions, it's around health, and it's around the impact and the fundamental challenge that digital technology is going to make upon society and cities in particular. So I think if you have all of those three elements in place, and I think they are or are emerging in place, then the outlook looks particularly good. But to go back and address your question directly, I think at the moment we're in a place where we are A, getting over an evolving post-Brexit, and B, just finding our way out of the pandemic. I think 2022 is going to be key to taking forward these kind of relationships.
Thank you. Professor James, what as per you feel that UK universities will be keen to come to India? And if they will be interested to establish campuses, will they like to invest or will they like to go for partnerships?
So the University of Buckingham is a very small university, but already we have two partnerships with Indian universities. One is with a law college in Greater Noida, and the other is with Apollo Hospitals. Apollo Hospitals and us, we're involved in a joint venture to open a campus, a medical science campus in the northwest of England, a city called Crewe. But in the medium term, that could well involve us thinking about doing something together in India. So a partnership there, not a public-private partnership, but if you like, a private-private partnership, and that could be attractive. I've looked in the past when I was at Newcastle and other universities about relationships with India, and of course it was so much more difficult. It was almost impossible to contemplate how one could have these relationships. Now your Prime Minister has made life easier, so I would think there would be some demand. Clearly, Indian students like to come to the UK, and I think they're the second largest country intake to universities here and to our university in particular. But we've learned a lot, haven't we, under the pandemic lockdowns and so on. We've learned about hybrid models. So maybe there's some mileage in thinking of partnering with a campus in India. Students are there for some time and then come to UK for some time as well. There are lots of possibilities, but I welcome this new development, and I can say the University of Buckingham will be looking into this seriously.
Thank you.
As will others, I think.
Thank you. Professor Peck, you have been leading the academics of Nottingham Trent University as a Vice Chancellor, and your university has got number of relationship in India and other parts of the world. What, as per you, is going to be the model which UK universities are going to follow for the next few years? Will they like to come and open a campus, standalone campus, or will they like to open a campus in the campus? Because there was a time when people were investing in the infrastructure, but now we have seen the universities, they want to come together. They want to invest more on the intellectual resources, want to come with a hybrid model. So what is your vision? Do you feel that UK universities will continue in having articulation arrangements where part of the program is in India and the part of the program is in UK? Or will they like to offer the programs in India in a hybrid mode by creating a standalone campus? Or will they enter into a partnership with the existing university, open a campus in the campus, and have a more sustainable and economical model? I'd like to listen from you.
That's a great question. First of all, thank you for inviting me. We very much value our relationship with Amity University. Just briefly on your first question about Brexit, I'm in the mainstream of UK vice chancellors in feeling that actually Brexit wasn't a very smart move for the UK economy and maybe the UK society. But I think in terms of its impact, Chou En-lai was once asked about the French Revolution in the 1960s, and he's misquoted, I think, as saying it's too soon to tell. And I think it's too soon to tell about Brexit, and it would be too soon to tell probably for the next 25 years. It will open up some real opportunities for us, and we're very encouraged by the education policy that has been devised in India. And we do hope that part of the free trade agreement will include higher education, because we are slightly puzzled by the top 100 universities. It rather begs the question, top 100 for what? And if there's a real interest in skills education and developing new ways of engaging, particularly students from poorer backgrounds and with less educational attainment to date, how do you engage those people in the kind of transformation at 50% participation that can really change their lives? And at Nottingham Trent, we really focus on how do we make all of our students, particularly those from poorer and less advantaged backgrounds, able to engage in higher education, get the skills they need, and transform their lives. And in doing so, transform their businesses they work for and transform the communities and economies in which they work. And just as an aside, we recruit more UK undergraduates than any other UK university. So we really see ourselves being a top university in the UK. And therefore, if we can get into a free trade agreement, it enables us to start to talk to our friends in India about collaboration. That would be fantastic. The other thing I'd say is on your models approach, well, we're very open actually to models that work for our partners. So we have a very close relationship, as you know, with Punjab University. We've opened a joint science and technology research centre, which has generated 25, 30 projects between UK academics and academics in India, between NTU and Punjab. And of course, that relationship builds on an additional relationship between Nottinghamshire and the Punjab. So we've already got very strong relationships, haven't we, between India and the UK, which we must build upon. So in terms of the model, to date, we've been very interested in the campus within a campus model, where we take some of our programs in conversation with our international partners, recognize they'd be relevant actually to the students who could be recruited to that international partner. And then actually all of the facilities and the support for those students is provided by the host campus, host university. And then we provide the elements of the academic input that really we can do because we have specialist knowledge, expertise or experience. And then that university may do other parts of it, and we cross-accredit each other's contributions. That model's worked really well for us in China, in Taiwan. We'd be very interested in that conversation with partner Indian universities. And I think that's a sort of model now that looks much more sensitive to local culture and community than just arriving and opening a campus in your own right. I don't think that's really going to work. And I think it has to add value to the local capacity and capability of Indian universities and not just have a standalone campus from a UK university. Certainly, if the free trade agreement allows Nottingham Trent to come to India and have those sorts of relationships, we're very open to what the local partner thinks will work. But our starting point, I think, is that sort of hosted campus in another university's existing campus.
Thank you, Professor Edwin. Ms. Ritika, you have been a pillar of British Council for so long and instrumental in bringing so many UK universities. What is your opinion that what model is going to survive? We saw that a decade back, the concentration of UK universities was to recruit students. So British Council used to organize fairs, and the universities, they were coming together, they were just recruiting, and only recruiting was taking place. Now with the new education policy coming in, the government of India wants that the universities should be able to open up their meaningful presence. They should have their own campuses here. So you feel that British universities are ready? And if they are ready, they will bring investments, or still campus in campus or a hybrid model will be more relevant?
First and foremost, I would challenge your assumption that the British Council's primary objective is to recruit students, though mobility to UK remains one of our focus areas, particularly as the Amity University is recipient of UK grants, which has been around for 15 years and focused very strongly on research collaborations and partnerships. So a huge amount of the work that we do focuses on creating those partnerships. And as the learned professor said a little while ago, that we have a very strong legacy of partnerships. All the universities here today do have research collaborations and other collaborations with UK universities. And most of the universities that we have been in conversation with are actually very eager and enthusiastic for partnering in one way or another. To answer your questions about the appetite of UK universities to open campuses and models, there's an interesting study being conducted by the National Institute of Education, Planning and Administration by the investigator Indo Matthews, where he conducted a survey of the top 200, which is again, something that we worry about as such, that had the maximum respondents from UK universities. Of the 50 odd responses they had, 50% nearly were from UK universities, who responded by saying that they would be eager and would consider setting up a campus or engaging in some kind of partnership activity, but all of them felt that at the current moment, for various reasons, regulatory and otherwise, it would be a challenging proposition. So I think it's a game of waiting for us for the new, kind of foreign collaboration bill, the guidelines to come through from the UGC. It was out in February 2021 for consultation, and the British Council worked to coordinate the response of the UK universities working through UUKI, DFE, and sector bodies to get feed into that kind of consultation, where we kind of recommended that it should be broadened beyond the top 200, top 100 or whatever, top 500. I think we finally moved to top 500 in that particular document, because you may be top in one area or as a whole. It is a perception survey. There is no one government mandated ranking or anything like that. And there are specialist institutions which may have fantastic departments, top departments in specialist areas, whereas not so much in other areas. So, it doesn't really define the collaboration. So these were the kind of conversations that we've been linked to. But to come to the point that the work that the British Council does in facilitating partnership between UK and India, we kind of guided at the moment between the roadmap 2030 signed off by our two prime ministers, in May 2021, and we kind of working towards mutual recognition of qualifications through the task force set up by the Minister Pokhriyal and Minister Raab at that point of time, because they had set it out and it's working. And as the Rohit said, that we should expect some results to emerge from those conversations. A lot of things have to go in place, but I have to say that a lot of things are already happening. So we launched the Going Global Partnership Call, wherein we tried to bring together Indian and UK universities to explore the opportunities of creating different models that might work for India. We have to be mindful of the fact that all UK universities are not the same. They have different structures, they're at a different place in their journey and evolution. And similar for India, it's a very diverse area. And to say that we have one model that will win over other models is, it would be very naive to believe that that's going to happen. I do believe that many of the universities will find out and work with their partners to find the most pragmatic model that works for them and their students. And the other thing that we're very, very focused on is also on two-way mobility, because we are aligned to India's desire to have as many UK students experience India. And I do believe that that's an important part of UK's agenda as well. And a lot of the work that we do, we hope to be able to support that agenda as well. And I hope we see a lot of UK university students in your campuses at some point of time in the future. So, I hope that answers some of your questions.
Absolutely, Ms. Ritika. I think that with the help of British Council, we have seen that hundreds of students in the last few years, they have come to India under the UKRI scheme, and MAT got a distinction of getting the highest number of projects also. Under the Turing scheme also, we got a number of projects. That all is fine, but we really wanted to understand. And that was actually our focus was, but I'll come back to this question again, maybe in the second round. We wanted to understand that in what direction UK universities are thinking. Is the research going to be the focus area, or is it going to be opening the campuses in India? But we'll come back to you, because we have seen in the past UK universities going to other countries, opening campuses, franchising arrangements. India was closed at that point of time. We were not open to franchising. Now, since the government wants that top universities and some of the good universities from UK, they come and they open campuses in India, what model they are going to follow? Is some discussion going on, and what is the interest, since you have been coordinating and you have been in charge of British Council, and you are talking between Indian universities and UK universities? But we'll come back to you. We'd like to understand from Ms. Shalini Khemka that what you feel is the perception of yours, that how the universities will look like, the UK universities and Indian universities of future will look like. Will they concentrate on research? Will they concentrate on new age technologies? Will there be a hybrid model? Where you see that both sides will be coming, how the partnerships will look. We saw in the past that most of the partnerships of Indian universities with the UK partnerships, they were tilted towards UK. Students, they were going there, our researchers, they were going there. Very few from UK, they were coming to India. In the last 2-3 years, with the efforts of many, including British Council, we have seen now that quite a few researchers, quite a few students, they have been to India. Ministers are there trying. But I think that now, under new education policy, Prime Minister Modi is trying that some of the top universities should come. But what is your perception from the industry point of view, from your own perception? What are your comments?
Firstly, thank you very much, Professor Gunder, for having me. It's a huge pleasure to be speaking today, and I'd like to congratulate you on the work with Amity University, and also say to you, my mother, Dame Asha Kemka, she sends you her regards. She's much more into education than me, having run one of the largest further education colleges in the UK, and then she was on the board of Nottingham University for a few years. My background is I set up my company, E2E. It stands for Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur Exchange. It's about 24,000 members that we have now over the last 10 years, supporting essentially entrepreneurship globally. We have people from 58 different countries, but the majority are UK entrepreneurs. So I'm going to come in from an industry perspective, and I don't know what the future would look like, but I can tell you what I would like to see. What I would love to see is much more collaboration between UK, India, and all other countries, because when we look at the talent that comes into our companies, and this is the way I'm looking at it, and these 24,000 members, we talk about this a lot. We absolutely need the talent to be global citizens. And the more our youth are global citizens, the better the employment, the more the research, the more innovation, and the greater the entrepreneurship. And the lifeblood of every economy is really entrepreneurship. So it's wonderful to see when we have interns coming into my business, and they're coming mainly from the US at the moment, when they have the multidisciplinary talent from having worked in different countries, those are the youngsters that really help our businesses to thrive and excel. And I've seen some great examples with Nottingham University, for example, working in opening corridors in different countries. And that makes it game-changing, both in terms of research and the way these students contribute to our businesses. So whether it's partnerships, whether it's campuses, and I'd like to congratulate the work of UK India Business Council, because I think there's a lot of good work happening there. And it's wonderful to hear the initiatives that the various different professors are talking about here. But I think year on year, and I don't mean to be pessimistic about this, we hear a lot of talk of UK-India relations, but being very, very honest, I see less of it actually happening. So there's a lot of trade missions going on, there's a lot of conferences like this, but the actual work of getting our students to come to the UK and UK students to go to India, I think that needs a real push, like a rocket, to keep the UK universities competitive. I went to Dubai before Christmas to speak at Education Week on behalf of a university called Synergy University. It's the largest private university in Russia. And it was wonderful to see what they're doing in terms of building partnerships, not just with the UK, but globally. And my feeling here is that for the UK universities to remain very, very competitive on a global footing, we absolutely need to fast track the corridors between the UK and India and with other countries. The format, Professor Gurinder, how that's done, I'm not a specialist to say what would be the right format. I think it's individual per university. But what I think is important is that we encourage our youth to be these global citizens. And that can only be done by more partnerships. The best research, the most innovative companies that we come across are the ones that come out of university, that come out of the science centers, the innovation centers from around the world. And these are the technologies or the businesses that create the most game-changing ways of solving global problems. So this is the angle that I'm looking at it from, and a lot of our members, which I hope has been of some help.
Thank you, Ms. Khemka, and please convey our regards to your mother, whom we know as an institutional builder, and we got a privilege of meeting her on previous many occasions. She is doing a wonderful work, and good to get your inputs also. Now, I will come back to Professor Phil. Professor Phil, a few years back.
Can I just interrupt? I really apologize because I have a hard stop at 10:30 UK time. So would you invite me again to perhaps take part in the debate in a more deeper way?
Yeah, is it convenient for you? Or,
I'll come again on another day. Today is not convenient, but on another day when you host the next conference, please do invite me. And I apologize to all the professors and Ms. Rithika for not staying on for the debate, but I hope I'll have the opportunity to meet you all in person.
Do send my regards to your mum, Shalini.
Who was that? Sorry, who was speaking?
It's Edward Peck. Do send Asha my regards.
I will do. She's actually she's going for a knee operation today, and that's why I have a hard stop at 10:30. So this is why I'm leaving. So I will.
Wish her well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.
Professor Philip, the question is now revolving around the student mobility to what is the perception of the students, and we know that you have worked on strategy for quite long. We want to understand from you is that a few years back the concentration of Indian student was towards UK. So you ask anyone that where you want to study, the students from India, their first destination was UK. they wanted to do their PhD, they wanted to go for masters, they wanted to go for undergraduate programs. But then we saw lately that this changed, and it tilted towards Australia and towards Canada. And in one of the international conferences, it was concluded that it was mainly because of the post-study visas and post-study working rights. Now, since the UK has changed quite a few of its rules, you feel, what is your perception, that is it going to last forever? Because we saw previously also that a few changes were made, but then they were withdrawn. And what is your message to the Indian students, that how they should see Indian students should see UK universities, and what future they have there?
Thank you. I think you've hit the nail on the head and largely answered your own question there. The perception, quite rightly from Indian students, was that the UK was an attractive place to come and study, but there were problems with post-qualification study or post-study visas in particular. I think the attitude to that is changing. I think that will change, but another important element and linked to this is around recognition of qualifications as well, because that's also an important part of it. And unless and until the post-study visa situation is addressed, we're likely to see the UK being a competitive disadvantage. Now, in terms of Bath, we have around 1,000 students from India. Most of those are on undergraduate and taught postgraduate programs. Very few are on PhD programs, and I think that's probably a common situation. Frankly, I'd like to see that balance shift much more to the research postgraduate qualification side of things as well. And I'm absolutely sure that there are two ways in which we can do that. The first is through funding and having bursaries to encourage more Indian students to come and study in the UK and in Bath. And the second comes down to this post-study visa situation. And from what I've heard and from what I'm hearing, that situation will be changing. I think that's going to be the key to addressing this. I think you're on mute.
Thank you, Professor Philip, for those inputs. Can I request now that our all very learned panelists can give us maybe one or two practices which their universities and their organization are following, which can be imbibed by the Indian universities, or which are the best practices you feel that you have been able to practice in UK? Maybe that we can start with Professor Richard.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Singh, and thank you once again to Amity colleagues for the invitation today. I think UK universities have much to contribute, but I also think they have much to learn from India at this moment in time. I think it's really important in closing this session that we stress that not only is the NEP an opportunity to liberalize India's approach to higher education, but the UK government also has its own international education strategy. And that's an ambitious strategy for growth, but it's an ambitious strategy to develop really mutual knowledge partnerships. And India is one of 5 countries in the UK higher education strategy, which are our priority areas. So coming back to some of the earlier points, there's really close alignment here right now in terms of opportunities to collaborate together. And I think what we can do in terms of collaboration, and my own university is contributing in this space, is not only build our transnational education partnerships, our collaborative partnerships, and we've already heard from colleagues about directions that we could do that in, both in terms of welcoming IITs into the UK, but also developing transnational or collaborative programs overseas. But I also think it's absolutely vital that we also realize the full potential of India's National Research Foundation and its science and technology policies going ahead, so that UK universities contribute directly into that. And finally, I think it's really important building these mutually beneficial partnerships that we also see UK students going to India in large numbers. And the UK's new Turing scheme, which encourages the mobility of UK students around the world, it's our replacement for Erasmus, the European Union's mobility framework. It's really critically important that we really send students abroad. And my own university, we're sending quite a number of students to India this first year of the Turing scheme. And UKERI has supported this work in the past. Now we have government funding. So I really think in terms of our own work as a university, the University of Sussex, but also our workers on behalf of Universities UK, is that we really optimize the UK's international education strategy, make sure that it's in dialogue with the NEP. That means support of mutual recognition of qualifications, and etc. We need to leverage up, scale up our TNE initiatives. I'm like Edward, open to lots of different approaches and opportunities in this space. We need to really develop and deepen our research partnerships, particularly focusing on the Research Foundation, but also we need also to ensure that there's a two-way mobility of students. If we do that, then we are really fulfilling on the objectives of both UK and India's objectives. It's a win-win that both countries gain by. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Richard. And it was indeed a pleasure to file a joint application with you and get a project. And indeed, it was one of the best practices which we were able to imbibe by interacting and having close interaction with your faculty, and both the universities have come closer. Now, can I request Professor Edward, maybe that if you can highlight some of the best practices your university is following?
Yes, thank you. I mean, first of all, just to reflect on how the visa regime has changed. It didn't change just overnight. It was the outcome of probably a decade's worth of campaigning and lobbying by the UK higher education system to get the post-study work visas reintroduced. So Universities UK has worked really hard on this, and we're delighted when the government we now have reintroduced effectively the post-study work visas. So I think that gives you some insight into how keen we were to encourage Indian students to study in the UK and to be able to bring their skills and talent to our economy in the years after they graduate. So I think it's worth recognizing that didn't happen just by default, it happened by clear design. I think Shalini is right. There aren't enough students going from the UK to India, but there are increasing numbers. Certainly we've been sending students out to Punjab, which is our partner, to summer schools and other opportunities, and their students have been coming back to us. We have got students under Turing and some who are British Council funded going out to India. And I think the opportunity represented by Brexit to have a new focus for how outward mobility works for UK students will really favour India, actually. For us, India has always been the country from which we recruit the most students. We've never had a predominance of Chinese students. And that's, I think, unusual, but it reflects the strength of relationship I think we have with our partners in India, with some of the agents we work with in India, but also I think the attractiveness overall to Indian students of studying in the UK. And I think that'll be really enhanced by the post-study work visas. But it has to be a two-way street. And we're working really hard to get more of our own students to go out to India to study. And I think that'll be a major focus of our work. I do think we should look at the whole offer of universities too. So often we focus too much on the research and the mainstream traditional teaching. And there's lots of things around entrepreneurship, which Shalini also mentioned, and how you develop opportunities for graduates to go and work in small companies, how you enable those leaders of small companies to develop their skills in marketing and leadership and export. I think they're all the things that UK universities do, ironically often funded in part by grants from the European Union, that we need to make part of the package that we explore with Indian universities. And there'll be things that Indian universities have developed and do that we need to learn from too. So I think it needs to be a really open partnership. We put all of our talents and capabilities on the table and say, okay, which of these would we benefit from sharing? Or which of these could you do in the UK or could we do in India? And indeed, WEB is open to hosting an Indian university's provision in Nottingham, as we would as have an Indian university host one of our provision in India. And that needn't just, as I say, be research or teaching as commonly understood. It could be a whole range of things that we do. And we're particularly strong at NTU on how we enable students from poor backgrounds to fulfill their ambitions to get a degree, and how we hold them in university, support them, nurture them, and means they can then graduate. So I think we should go in with a very open agenda and recognise the strengths of both of our higher education sectors and what we've got to learn from each other.
Thank you, Professor Edward. Professor Tully, will you be able to share some of the best practices your university is following?
Yes, thank you. And I want to really agree with what both Professor Richard Follett and Professor Edward Peck have either said or hinted at, in that we can definitely learn from India. This is a two-way street we're talking about here. I once wrote a piece, I think it was titled, "If India Can, Why Can't We?" And the example of Amity University is an extraordinary one, a chain of private universities, which is efficient, effective, innovative, enterprising. We have so much to learn from organizations like yours and for us here back in England. But I suppose the University of Buckingham, we call ourselves on some of our material the home of the two-year degree. And that's an innovation that is certainly popular with Indian students who come here, and we know talking overseas. It is basically what we've done is say, well, the long holiday that's there in British universities, typically from June to September, October, many students enjoy that, of course, and want to do travel and further reading, but many students want to get on with their studies. And so we put an extra term in there. We have a 4-term year, none of the long holidays, and students can get their degrees done in 2 years or 2 years and 3 months. And that's an innovation I think that many would find very attractive. On the medical degrees, our medical degrees are also the shortest in the world. I think they're 4.5 year degrees. And again, that's done by getting rid of long holidays and having teaching and learning taking place in those two. So that's a very interesting innovation that I think Indian universities could think about. We have entrepreneurship across the curriculum. The medical school I've mentioned already, but a lot of medical students become general practitioners who are actually running a small business. We provide entrepreneurship training for them and across the curriculum in general. And we're also doing a project on, my own work is on low-cost private education across the world, but in India. And I'm working in India to develop teacher training programs, low-cost teacher training programs for low-cost private schools. That's something that I would very much like to see Indian universities take up, focusing on that extraordinary revolution of low-cost private education. And indeed, if any Indian university wants to get in touch with me to talk about collaboration on that project, I would be very interested to hear from you. So we learn from you, definitely. If India can, why can't we? But we have some innovations too up our sleeves.
Thank you. Ms. Ritika, what is your message? Which are the 3-4 areas where you feel that Indian universities, they can concentrate and can have meaningful collaborations with the UK universities?
I think a study done by UUKI and British Council said, kind of threw up some recommendations in that, and drawing on that, the areas that they recommended works best when you collaborate across borders and TNE arrangements are areas of emerging disciplines and emerging need. It's that innovation area that really needs, because the expertise in higher education may be spread across borders and countries. And if for example, and the example I like to give is in finance, if you're looking at aircraft leasing, you might find an expertise in a university in the UK, for that particular a small piece of specialist area. So looking and identifying those areas of gap, which are linked to industry needs, which are emerging disciplines and areas. So, are the ones that UK universities and Indian universities should focus on, whenever they're thinking of collaborating, because I think the other areas, they have strength and they have understanding of their local context. So getting out to that fringes of innovation is where the real success and the real demand for these things lie. We've also found that where there is good, there's certain foundations on which these collaborations need to sit. And these are good understanding of the frameworks of standards and the curriculum and the assessment. So, while the Turing scheme and all the other schemes to encourage students to come to India are important, and they are like the drivers, they're like the match to the fire, they light the spark. The real drive should be demand-led in that sense, and the demand will emerge if we have things like the mutual recognition of qualifications in place, alignment of the standards frameworks. And we are working with ENIC in getting some of the some courses created for Indian universities to understand that. And in the next year, we'll see some of the emerging capacity building and information sharing on how these could be developed between UK universities and Indian universities. And I think those are the things that will really fire up this space, which has so much potential. The model is one thing, but the engagement has enormous and unbelievable potential. And we think the time is now, when we've got our NEP 2020 after 30 years, a strong focus on internationalization is the first national policy that has such a strong focus on internationalization in India. There is political commitment and will on either side, so I don't see, if it doesn't happen, when will it happen is what I would say.
Thank you. Very rightly said. Professor Philip, you have been the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Cambridge, and then now you are moving as an academic head of University of Bath. Can you share some of the best practices which you have implemented in your university?
So from my experience at Cambridge, we developed a new international strategy that humanities and social sciences we thought were key to, and within that we had what we mapped as both hotspots and cold spots. And for Cambridge, it was very important to do two things. One was to partner with those institutions that brought together the very best in two areas, and the synergies in terms of research and teaching and impact would flow from that. But at the other side of things, we also wanted to partner with those institutions that didn't have the capacity to enable Cambridge to partner with those areas of the world and those universities that could have the potential to generate the largest impact, if you like. And that was in a number of places, particularly in the developing world, where we wanted to maximize what it is I think universities are here to do, which is to help make the world, frankly, a better place. And both of those strategies, or both of those legs to those strategies, led to a number of, I think, very fruitful collaborations and approaches. Now, whether that model is going to be the one that's suitable at Bath, whether that model is one that's going to be suitable in India, I don't know. There are, as has been said, there are a range of different approaches. But I would very much agree with the point that was made earlier about the need to move from conversation to action here. I mean, I think we're now in a position where we are aligned in terms of what it is we want to achieve, and it's all now going to be about getting on and actually delivering some other achievement moving forward as well.
Thank you, Professor Philip. Professor Richard, I'm coming on now my last question. Where you feel is going to be the future of Indian and UK education? How it will look like? Will it concentrate more on research, or will it concentrate more on having a model which is looking at developing short duration programs? We have seen in the recent past that earlier students used to go for 4 years program, then they are started now looking at diploma programs, and lately they are only looking at short duration programs. So what you feel is going to be the future of education? Is it going to be skill-based, short duration program, or do you feel that old age programs, 3 years programs or 4 year programs will have the similar value as they were having earlier?
Thank you very much. It's a very comprehensive question. I think the political momentum behind both the NEP and the UK's international education strategy is developing some transnational partnerships, some TNE teaching partnerships in the very first instance. And I think that that probably will take the shape not of international branch campuses in India, but much more in the like that we've heard previously of collaborative provision, universities working directly with Amity, Amity working directly with other UK institutions, campuses within campuses. I think that is in the immediate and short term, and I share colleagues' concern that we move from alignment to action in the coming 6 to 9 months in that area. Beyond that, I think there are going to be clear areas for collaboration around research, particularly as the Indian science and research innovation policy shapes up, and the UK's innovation policy changes. As you'll be aware, part of the consequences of Brexit was a challenge over the UK's association with Horizon Europe. Horizon is the EU's major research council grant funding. It is not clear at this point that that will continue with the UK, and therefore one space that is clearly open for collaboration is growing research collaborations, research linkages globally beyond the EU, and clearly areas of hot growth are included in India-UK collaboration. I do think we will see shorter courses developing. That's the spirit of the Turing scheme, very short in that context, but it's also the context too of developing our joint online delivery platform. So I think there is a range of options and probable routes for UK-Indian collaboration. What I would say, however, is that I do think, along with my fellow panelists, the time is right, the politics is right. There really is a close collaboration between political leaders and university leaders, and I include the AIU in this with ourselves in the UK, a real opportunity to deepen UK collaboration. And I would say, and I think it's an important point, I am a historian and often reflect on the past, that despite the often painful history between the two countries, that there is an opportunity here, and the UK government sees it this way, for a strategic reset with India. That's important for many reasons, but a strategic reset with India. And I think they see higher education from this side as critical to that UK-India relationship going forward. And that means as much Indian students coming to the UK and British students going to India, but also creating the opportunities such as Amity has done to create campuses in the UK and really develop their footprint as global knowledge providers. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Edward, the last question is from you. We have seen in the past that earlier the concentration was on the PhD programs. Then era came when the people started looking at master's program, then undergraduate programs. And now we have seen that the youngsters, they are only looking for a short duration programs. So what, as per you, is going to be the future of the education? Is it going to be the short duration programs, skill-based programs, or you feel that traditional programs will have the similar importance as they were having earlier?
Thank you. That's a very good question. And I agree, I think, with the contribution just made by Richard, that education is going to get much more flexible and more fluid and offer more choice to students, become more personalized, reflect their particular learning styles, their particular educational career ambitions. And so if you look at what's happening in the UK, and we're going to have a major announcement on higher education policy in the UK tomorrow, so look out for that. You're going to see a real focus on what's called the lifelong learning entitlement, where people can borrow money up to 4 years education, but do it in much more flexible ways at a modular level. So you can loan money, just take one module in the course rather than the whole 3-year course. And I think that's going to change significantly the ways in which people participate in higher education in the UK over the next 5 to 10 years. And I think that will be reflected in how we start to structure our courses and think about our relationships with international partners. But I think there'll still be a demand for the traditional 3-year degree. I don't think it'll disappear overnight, and the 1 or 2 year postgraduate program. But I think more students will want to come and do particular focused modules from particular universities with particular expertise. And that means we have a much more well-developed credit appreciation process. And we need to have a series of relationships between our universities that enable us to do that. Already, actually, one of our partnerships in Taiwan, our students are studying in Taiwan an online NTU program, which they can just do as part of their degree in Taiwan. And they could do it anywhere in the world. It happens to be on campus in Taiwan, but they could do it anywhere in the world. So I think the other point about how we start to use technology much more flexibly to enable students to do the same program at the same time in different places on an in-person basis, face-to-face basis, but maybe also how they start to use technology to have much more online provision, and the balance between what's online, what's simultaneous across the world, and what has to take place in one campus with everybody there, I think will also get much more flexible and fluid over the next 10 years. And I think Amity is already showing the future in some ways in your innovations in using technology to drive educational provision. So I think the picture will get much more flexible. It'll be driven by student choice, and some of that student choice will actually connect back to their own concerns about climate change and environmentalism. And I think you might start seeing some students deciding not to travel the world to do their education because they actually do not want to have that carbon footprint, and they want actually to start to think about their education in a much more green way. And that will drive, I think, either more online provision or more varied in-country provision, where the academics are here and can deliver that without the students having to move around the world quite as often as they currently do. So I think there are lots of countervailing influences here, but I still think the whole picture will look much more personalized, much more flexible.
Thank you, Professor Edward. It was such a pleasure to welcome all of you in this very interesting panel discussion. Ms. Ritika, thank you so very much for joining and representing British Council and helping us. I have seen your message that you have a very important meeting at 4:30, but keep on coming to Amity and keep on helping and guiding us. We look forward to doing many projects with you. Thank you, Professor Philip, for joining us for this very interesting discussion. We are in touch with your university. We are developing a very meaningful partnership, and I'm sure that you now going to University of Bath, with whom we have developed very strong linkages. We will further strengthen our partnership in all times to come. Professor Tully, you have been a great supporter of Amity, and we already have a great partnership with you, and we further look to strengthen our relationship. Professor Richard, it is such a pleasure to again see you. We have done few projects together, and I'm sure in next 1 and 2 years, we will further strengthen our research partnerships and also our partnerships in few areas where we are looking at articulation arrangements. Professor Edward, it was such a pleasure to welcome you and to see you on behalf of Amity University, on behalf of our founder, on behalf of our chancellor, on behalf of our all vice chancellors and 185,000 family members. We once again thank each one of you. Over to you, Chancellor, if you want to give your...
Dr. Singh, let me also just add my personal gratitude to all the panelists. It was a very, very informative discussion, and I was delighted to listen to the discourse. Just to add, Dr. Singh, one point, as I mentioned earlier yesterday at the Times Higher Education, I was opening the conference together with Joe Johnson in a discussion. And as all of us know, Joe Johnson was the former Minister of Universities, and he is now a senior fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School. And in December, Mr. Johnson and his colleagues have published a very comprehensive paper called Natural Partners, Building Comprehensive UK-India Knowledge Partnerships, which gives very, very valuable insights into where progress can be made in the future between India and the United Kingdom, especially in the field of higher education. Just one graph which caught my attention and which I would like to share with all the colleagues here was mapping of citations. And it mapped the number, the average citations by Indian scientists, the average citation by UK scientists. And then one line was the citations where there was a collaboration between Indian and UK scientists. And the line of the collaborative citations was much, much more than the individual country citation impact was. So I think that the lesson clearly is that there is huge benefit in scientists having cross-border partnerships when it comes to research outcomes. And I think we should all, as senior members of the academic fraternity in the United Kingdom and in India, see how to further bridge research relationships. And I'm sure everyone who's on the panel will work towards that. So with that, Dr. Singh, my congratulations for this amazing panel that you have held. And thank you to all the panelists. We look forward to meeting in person sometime soon.
Thank you, Chancellor. And we feel so privileged that MIT has been able to develop meaningful research partnerships under the various schemes, whether it was UKRI or under the Turing scheme, or investing in some of the research grants and writing joint projects. And British Council has been also very, very helpful to all of us. But on behalf of MIT University, once again, we thank each one of you. Over to the Master of Ceremony now.
And Dr. Singh, I was also seeing in between many very senior members from the corporate world who are online. So I'm sure we will be thanking, but on behalf of my personal behalf also to all the members from the industry who have joined, thank you for all the support that you give to Amity and to the students of Amity. We are very grateful.
Thank you, Honorable Chancellor. And it is under your guidance, under your leadership that you've given us the tagline of Amity being a research and innovation-driven university. And indeed, interdisciplinary research is the order of the day, and it is our primary focus as a university. We would now proceed ahead with conferring of the awards. So may I once again request our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Atul Chauhan, sir, Group Vice Chancellor. We are also joined by Dr. Luminita Vasiu, Principal, Amity University in London, who is leading our campus in London. And also we have with us Dr. A.K. Nagpal.
Dr. Lumi, I can't see it. As was mentioned earlier, at Amity, we are very proud to have a very beautiful campus in a grade 2 listed building in the heart of London next to the British Museum. And Dr. Lumi is heading that campus in London, and she is so passionate, and she has, she's such a strong member of the Amity family, single-handedly, leading the flag of Amity there with her large team. Dr. Lumi, we're so proud. Even now, we have so many students from India and other parts of the world of Amity studying with you, and great work done, Dr. Lumi. Proud of you.
Dr. Lumi, kindly unmute, please.
Dr. Lumi is a great computer scientist, a great researcher and scientist in herself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Dr. Lumi, we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you very much for the I'm very humbled to hear your words, and I want to thank everybody, all my colleagues from UK for their time and incredible contribution to this very interesting debate, actually. I really believe that we can do so many things together. And I just invite all the Vice Chancellor and all the people present here to come to visit us. And we will be very happy and open to any kind of collaboration. We believe that working together it's a strength, and together we can achieve so much. Thank you so much. I'm very proud to be part of Amity family and very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Luby. You've always been a great support and always have helped us with our mobility programs at our London campus and all the other internationalization initiatives. Let me quickly share the presentation, and I would request the dignitaries to please confer the awards. We are conferring Amity Global Academic Excellence Award on Professor Edward Peck, CBE, Vice Chancellor and President, Nottingham Trent University, UK. A huge round of applause for Professor Peck. We are conferring Amity Global Academic Excellence Award on Professor Ian White, a Vice Chancellor and President, University of Bath, UK. This award is being accepted on his behalf by Professor Philip. We are also conferring Amity Global Excellence Award on Professor James Tooley, Vice Chancellor, University of Buckingham, UK. A huge round of applause for Professor Tooley. And Amity Excellence Award for Enhancing UK-India Bilateral Relations on Ms. Ritika Chanda Paruk, Director Education, British Council, India. A huge round of applause for her and supporting all our initiatives. I would now request and hand over the session to Bhavna ma'am.
Thank you. We are very honored to have our industry guides who have spared time specifically today to join us. They have been helping us in various live projects, in various internships. And yesterday we had a very exciting also panel discussion on job opportunities for students with a lot of mentoring by the industry stalwarts. So I request our Honorable Chancellor, Group Vice Chancellor, Dr. Nakmal, Dr. Lumi, and all the dignitaries to join us in felicitating our industry partners, without whom the employability index of Amity, which is amongst the top 6 in the world, which we are very proud of as per Times Higher Education, would not have been possible. So we continuously look forward to nurturing the corporate interaction for our students, and thank you for being the mentors and guides. Mr. Vinay Kaushik, the Group CHRO, Newburgh Engineering, thank you, sir. Ms. Rohini Kaul, Associate Director Communication, Fidelity International. Mr. Vicky Mehta, Head of Bajaj Finance Limited. Mr. Pradeep Pandey, Vice President, Greenleaf IT Consulting Private Limited. Mr. Gaurav Kumar Giri, Manager, Girnar Soft Private Limited. Ms. Pratibha Malakar, Texai Research Private Limited. Mr. Sujoy Basu, Moglix. I have the floor open for a minute advice from all of you to the listening students. We have this also streaming live on YouTube across all our campuses. So, Mr. Sujoy, would you like to offer a...
Sure. First of all, I think, really honored to be part of this, this award and among this illustrious group. And I thank Amity for considering me for this particular award. As far as, and congratulations to the other awardees as well. As far as students go, I think this is going to be the best time of your life. Please do enjoy campus life as much as you can. Studies will happen. You will, go through your textbooks. You will do your projects. You will, carry on with whatever coursework you have to do. But form relationships, form bonds, and those bonds will take you, miles. You can only get to certain levels through your academics, but relationships are what will take you further in life. And keep forming those. Don't lose out on people whom you've known from school, college, post-graduation. Human relationships are the only things that are going to take you forward. So keep that up and bunk classes often, in as much as they motivate you to study harder, and they help you to get that fire in your belly. So it's a slight offbeat kind of advice, but the underlying crux is have fun, enjoy your time as a student, and carry those relationships further. Thank you.
Ms. Rima, your message.
Thank you, Mr. Sujoy, though Amity is very, very strict on attendance, which all the Amity students know. But they manage to enjoy and study hard at the same time.
I have former professors who are part of the Amity family, and so I know what they're doing.
Right.
Thank you.
Ms. Rima?
This is Dr. Rima Ghosh Chaudhary, the CHRO of Data Matrix Global. I didn't see my name there, so I was wondering if it would be my turn to speak. But nonetheless, I have the email from Chavi, and I'm thankful to Amity University for bestowing this honor upon me. During the professional journey and its several ups and downs, there's this thought of award never came to mind, but when it happened as a logical progression in career, it kind of instilled the belief that the work contribution to the corporate world was good. That's a big takeaway for me in this felicitation ceremony. Now, since there are students in this forum, so I must share something about my background. While I've essentially been in corporates in companies like IBM, Sony, Datamatics and all, but I have also done a stint as professor and HOD of a B school for a couple of years, and I have seen that world also very closely. And my message for all my students, past ones, future ones, current ones, is you should not ever give up. No substitute to hard work. Smart work happens automatically, it evolves, but hard work has no substitute. Recognition will invariably happen in due course of time. If you have the zeal to invest in yourself and grow yourself professionally, it will happen. So to quote from Secrets, if you are very, very passionate about growing yourself individually and as a professional, then somewhere the entire world will conspire to make it happen for you. And don't forget to have fun along the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rima. Your award is very much there, and I would request Honorable Chancellor to confer it also officially. We would also be taking the privilege of coming with our students in person to give you a framed citation.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Ashish? Mr. Ashish, would you like to give a message? Mr. Vivek, Mr. Ishan, would you like to give a special message?
Yeah, can I?
Yes, sir, please, Ashish.
Thank you so much for having me here, and heartiest congratulations to all the to all the corporate leaders being recognized here. I think the best way for corporate leaders to give back to their campuses or to their to their alma mater is to actually keep in touch with the student community and interact with them, because what the students learn in the classroom and what they would learn from us, will bridge a lot of gap between knowing and doing. And I think it's an excellent initiative. It's
Okay, good evening, everyone. And definitely, it's almost a decade where my HR keeps on hiring students from Amity, and it's a quality headcount that we are getting kids in the mode of final placements or in the mode of internships or in the mode of live projects. So definitely hands-on to all the placement dignitaries and especially to all the visionary leaders. And looking forward, because definitely it's almost a decade now with Amity, and Amity is like a family to us. And we are touching about 10 years of the association now, where the HRs keeps on going hiring. And this year also, I can see almost 70, 80 headcounts my HR has hired this year as well from Amity itself, from Pan India, not only from Noida, but from Pan India, from Ahmedabad, from Hyderabad, from Bangalore, from Gurgaon, from Noida. So definitely, it's a very visionary and like Mr. Gurinder ji, Atul ji. So visionary leaders are always there and giving all the exposure to the students, which we require as an industry. So I personally feel Amity is always focusing on bridging the gap between the corporate world as well as, hand in hands for the freshers and the corporate, basically. So filling the gaps. And definitely, that's what is the power of internships and live projects with the corporate world. and looking forward for long-term association. Thank you.
Mr. Shan, I appreciate that you use the word family, because that is exactly how we feel with you and everyone else who is on the screen today, because the academia and the corporate world really have to work together hand in hand in one family. I think that's always been our aim. So thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Rohini, last words from you before we close the session.
First of all, Bhavna, thank you so much for inviting me over. Chavi had been kind enough to reach out to me, and I'm really honored to be here. I was part of the discussion that was happening earlier on the collaboration you're having with the UK. And it's really, really fascinating to know that as a university, you're trying to build this up for the students, because I think it will go a long way in trying to bridge the gap that universities and corporates have today. And I think the advice to the students really is, I think you're in a good place. The Amity University is a very, very round university. So I think you're in a good place. It's only that, while you polish your skills, just continue to keep yourself abreast with the context where the business is moving, because it's very important to know how you apply this skill to that context as you move to industries. So I think make use of these platforms that Amity is providing you, these workshops that Amity is providing you, to build that context around the education you're getting from the university, because this will go a long way in getting you placed in good organizations. So all the very best, and congratulations to all the other fellow members from the industry. Really glad to be here, and in whichever way I can contribute, I would like to. Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to that association. Mr. Vinay, I see you on camera.
Yes. Yeah, very good afternoon. First of all, let me congratulate Amity University. I just heard basically we are at number 6 as far as employment index is concerned. It's a really great feat basically you have achieved, and I can understand very well the kind of efforts you all must have put into to achieve that. That is one. Second, I heard basically Honorable Chancellor and Dr. Singh also, the kind of emphasis you put for research and collaboration on the global map. It's a really, really great to hear, and a re-establishment the way Amity has been working for so many decades. Really well. On the students front, I have been associating and interacting and hiring the students when I was in Technip, then Samsung Engineering, and now at Newburgh Engineering. Brilliant students, bright ones, and they have already taken the smart decision by taking admission at Amity University. And I wish them really, really bright and shining career ahead. As far as this award is concerned, I really feel honored and grateful to all of you for this acknowledgement and conferring the award. Thank you so much. And I wish Amity University, AIBS, continued success and recognition on the global map. Thank you so much. Thanks, really. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With this, we come to the conclusion of the session of Indo-UK post and bridging gaps, specifically after all the ongoing changes in the world. It was a very interesting, deliberative thing, and our students have got good reports to write. They're all being assessed on the basis of the discussions that they have been listening in. So it's a hard night's work for them. And I hope that all the insightful learnings that they have got from each one of the distinguished panelists, the wonderful inspirational messages, the way that all of you have shown them that hard work, commitment, passion goes a lot of way in nurturing. And that is the way that we also fondly believe under the vision of our respected founder president, Honorable Chancellor, and our Group Vice Chancellor, we have been nurturing talent while being able to bridge modernity with tradition. And Amity is committed to that journey. Thank you, Honorable Chancellor, for being with us throughout these sessions. Dr. Nagpal, thank you so much for your patronage. On behalf of our Group Vice Chancellor and all the members of Amity Universe, 3 Continent Global Study Programs, Amity International Business School, Amity University at Noida, and 185,000 of Amity family, Chancellor said, as you said. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We have many more exciting sessions in this conference. I request IT to close the session. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.